Hello, folks. Welcome back to Sound Design for Relaxation, Meditation, and Sleep. I'm your host, Dr. Lawrence W. Moore of the Wayfarer Project. This series is my companion series for my sound experiments for relaxation, meditation, and sleep, hereby abbreviated as RMS. And in this, I show you the different approaches that I use in that series. And that way, you can communicate with me. Let me know about what things are working for you, what things maybe are not, and it just helps me make better and better sound experiences for RMS. In this episode, I'm going to be, once again, improving my rain sound. So those of you who are watching the series to learn some things about sound design and making different types of sounds, there were 2 previous episodes where I made some rain. And I thought I made some better rain, and now I think it's even better. In the last sound experience, which was number 13, the relaxing rain, I think, was a little too intense, or at least that's the feedback that I got from Nameless One. And so I'm endeavoring to soften it up a bit, but also at the same time, I like it. You know, I've been using the Macro Oscillator 2 from Audible Instruments and VCV Rack, and I just like the way it does some of these things a little bit better. So I'm going to show you my new and improved rain sound. So without further ado, let's get to doing it. Okay, so here we are. I am just showing the rain sound. I'm going to let you hear it right now. This is going to be, well, it's actually already been recorded in sound experiment number 14 for RMS, and that will hopefully be going out this Sunday. I don't know, because I am having bad internet problems. I basically have to restart my router almost every 5 or 10 minutes. With the new way that YouTube handles uploads, I am hoping I'll be able to get this uploaded for Saturday, the 21st of April, 2024, and the sound experiment itself up for Sunday night for people that want to get a good night's sleep before Monday. So anyway, let's hear it. Hopefully these will both be going up this weekend, but if not, people will have to wait for this. Once again, in this series, I hope that people who are interested in hearing the sound well are either using good speakers or headphones. This is softer, more delicate, and it does allow me for changes in intensity that are somewhat gradual. You know, turning up faders would be a sudden change, but here I can slightly intensify the downpour. And back off on it a little bit. And I will be showing you different options along the way so that you can see what are some of the different things you can do with the sound. So anyway, to customize it on your own, you know. So let's get to it. I am going to go over here and call up my patch that just has the mixer, parametric EQ, and two compressors, compressor on the way out. And in this, we are just using one reverb that will be sent the effect through an aux send from the mind meld mixer. And the effect is an echo, basically. Now that's echo, which I've been using a lot lately. Those of you who are new to the series, you may want to see some previous episodes where I explain the setup of the whole mixer situation. I like to set up, when I'm doing something that only requires 8 channels, the 8-channel version. And I like to set up the parametric EQ and compressors, even if I don't end up using them. I have them there in case I'm going to. And then I'll just delete them afterwards if I don't end up using them, and change any routing here that I need to. But these are all free modules, the Squinky Labs compressors, the parametric EQ, 8-channel mixer, and aux expander from MindMeld, SurgeXT Reverb 2, and the MSC Hack compressor for the master compression on the way out. Okay, so let's get into the sound. In this, first I'm going to start with the distant rain sound, kind of like just the rain coming down. I have separate approaches for making like the sound of droplets hitting the ground, and then a shimmery sound of droplets hitting like harder surfaces that I also mix together. The main sound source that I'm going to be using for all these aspects can come from the Macro Oscillator 2 from Audible Instruments, another free module. I am going to be working with this using the Rnadom module from VCV. Originally, in my original rain sound, I was using Chaos Generator, and then my improved version, number 2, was if you remember, a set of LFOs, and now in this one, I'm going with a random generator from VCV. I like where I feel more ease of control here, and it is more random, so there isn't just this semi-regular, I do vary it, but semi-regular oscillation that the LFO does for changes in parameters. But for the VCF, I will once again be using the SurgeXT VCF. Alrighty. So, first things first, we are going to listen to, after I turn down a channel here, the Macro Oscillator. The first thing it's going to do, if I don't set anything, is going to put out something like a sawtooth or square wave or some waveform. But for this aspect of the sound, I want to use it in a different mode, which is going to be, in this case, it's noise, filtered noise mode. So I'm going to zoom in here just to get it right. Filtered noise, right there. So now it's going to sound completely different. Let's turn up the fader slightly so we can hear it. Oh, this mixer already has pan settings. I am using the mixer where the aux sends are post fader and post mute and solo, which is the default when you load up the mixer. I copied this from the patch I just showed you, and so I forgot that the pan settings were already made, so we'll just do center for now from here. Now, as you see, that is not a rain sound at all by any stretch of the imagination. We are going to change this a little bit. The frequency, I'm going to keep pretty much around the 12 o'clock position, but I am going to take this here, which is called timbre, but really, for filtered noise, it kind of like reduces the emanation of almost like particles. Now, I know this is not the particle noise mode. That's a separate mode, and we'll be using that in a little bit for the other aspects of the sound. But here in filtered noise, it sounds like little particles of noise, and then it gets denser. We're going to turn the dense density all the way up. A nice flow there. We will be changing the filter here too as well. This knob here in the filtered noise mode, basically it says harmonics, but it's almost like the filter before it gets to this filter, the external, which I don't have hooked up yet. So this I am setting right about there. 9 o'clock. Nice flow. And then the last one here is almost like another aspect of filtering too, but I like the sound of it here for this. It sounds like a steady rain coming down, but we have more to do to it as well. So I am going to just take the audio cable here and hook it up to the filter, and then take and make an audio cable here from Macro Oscillator 2 to the left input, because I'm using this like a mono filter here. Now, I am not going to be doing a low pass with resonance filter here. I am going to move to a high pass. And I'm going to take the resonance here and pretty much take it out. So we're not really filtering the noise heavily, as in giving it somewhat of a pitch region. We're kind of letting that out. Now I'm going to adjust the frequency here and find the ranges that I like. Yeah, that still sounds pretty much like rain from here down to here. Just a small narrow range here, but I'm going to try and position this right in the middle of that, because I like to oscillate this a bit. It gives it a little movement, makes it sound less static. And I'm going to move it with a smooth transition from the Rnadom here. Going to hook that up to modulator 1, turn it on, and then the way these SurgeXT modules work, when you're bringing in modulation from the CD signal, once you turn it on, you adjust and set the knob for the range you want it to modulate. So I'm going to make it a small one there. I left clicked and dragged up, made it a small one there. You see it kind of oscillating back and forth, maybe a little bit wider. If you're listening to this in headphones, you can hear the difference in the subtleties. That's a little too much. There. Right about there. Now, this is sending random signals there. We're able to narrow the range in SurgeXT right here, as I've already done. So you basically can set the range that it will accept, how much these random CV values will be able to move the cutoff frequency. And then here we can adjust how often it gets changes. I'm going to slow this down. Well, that's already going on a good. Let's turn it up a little bit. There, basically, it's almost 10 seconds. between each random jump. And then you could have a probability of that random jump happening or not. I'd rather just set the time interval here. And for this sound, have it always happen. So the probability is up, everything else up here. And I'm coming out the smooth transition. So it's not a quick jump to any of the locations. And the range is narrow, but you can hear a little bit of a change to it now and then, which is what I like. Maybe I'll have this be a little more often. Yeah, that's better. I hear a little now and then, which is kind of like just a change in the range. I mean, in the, yeah, it's a change of the center frequency, but just like a slight modulation in the range sound. And then what I like to do with this is have another one, set this to be like the left side, and then let's make a right side. I'm going to copy everything as is, because I really want the same ranges. Another instance of the random module does put out different, does basically have a different seed to it. So it's not going to be putting out the same sequence of semi-random numbers. Now their levels are off. Right about there is a nice level. So that's the steady, soft, relaxing downpour of rain. Now we need some droplets hitting a surface. And we're going to largely use the random and Macro Oscillator 2 again, but in a different mode. I've spent some time with this Macro Oscillator 2 and played around with its filtered noise and its noise. Oh, you can tell from the tail there. I should complete my first sentence first. It's filtered noise and it's particle noise. Yeah, we were hearing already, because I didn't reset or initialize the patch, we were hearing the rain again, but I am actually going to do these as a group. So I'm going to turn down the individual sends, turn up the group 1 send, and I'm going to put these in group 1 right down here. I will eventually add these to the same group. Let's unmute these. There's the dry version of the sound. You weren't hearing that at all. Sorry about that. Here's the group 1 going out, and now I'm going to apply the effect. Oh, wait a minute, that isn't a dry version of the sound because I do have it up here. Here would be a dry version. Kind of hard to tell the difference in the lower amounts here. As I turn it up, it sounds much fuller, more echoey, and like a harder downpour. But you can turn up and down this group send here. And it sounds like gradual increases and decreases in intensity, because it takes a little time for the added signal that's being sent to fill up, you know, the delays involved with the echo, or reduce them, as the case may be, which sounds a lot less sudden than changing the level here of the group. Although this isn't super sudden, it's got to be really gradual about it. Okay, well anyway, let's mute these again now that I've talked about that. Let's get back to what we were going to do. And okay, this won't be bad. I'm just going to turn it down a little bit and center this channel to start. We are going to do stereo again, but I am going to start with it centered. We don't have to hear it out of just one ear, which is annoying. So let's put you here on channel 3. And now we're going to change the mode to particle noise. I don't think I did that. I should zoom in to see better. There. Okay. Now I'm going to leave frequency in a similar position here. Now this is once again density, basically, in this sound, even though it's called timbre. And I remember that I decided kind of on that, but we have changes here. So you can hear if you like a different setting, but here I like it a little more stuttered and fragmented. Now we're still hearing it at a pitch that I will not be using, but here that's a little bit crazy, right? Just showing you what this thing can do. That kind of like focuses pitch or pitch area a bit more when you turn it up. Tempting, but it's not. That would sound a little too alien. Now for frequency, it sounds pretty cool. I remember they were all, when I finally finished it, they were all somewhat in a 9 o'clock position. Except for this, I think I had this even turned further down. No, not that far. It was about a 3 o'clock position. Or, this is 9 o'clock, these are all 3 o'clock. Excuse me, you know, clocks backwards. Alright. But this could use a little filtering too, so I'm going to bring out our VCF from SurgeXT. Hook it up here. And then go out from the Macro Oscillator 2 into the input of SurgeXT. Now I am going to use a different filter. I like, this big wide bandpass. It doesn't shut out things from the center frequency area too much. It attenuates them more gradually as you go out from the area you're focusing on. But it still does give you a prominent pitch area. Now, this is for... I'm going to turn this up a little bit. Now, that filtering of that pitch area does sound a little strong. Let me see. So, there we go. Here's the one I wanted. This one is even more gradual. So you hear the pitch area, frequency area is not being emphasized as much. Of course, changes in resonance can also help. I like this poking up a little bit because it sounds a little bit more like a distinct tapping of drops, like against leaves or something on the ground. Now I'm going to do a higher pitched version. So I'm finding what is a good middle area. That's about the lowest. No, right here is about the highest I want for this one. We're going to do a higher pitched version of this soon. Alright. So that's like my center area. I like to find the center because once again, I will modulate this. And in these sounds, I use the exponential out from the Rnadom. It is still smooth, but like an exponential curve, it does rise fast. So basically, it'll move to the different positions more quickly, but still with smoothness, so it's not harsh. There shouldn't be any artifacts in the sound. So let's give it a range. Are we moving? Not as wide as I'd like. No, too high. Narrow the range a bit. Okay, the Rnadom is moving a little bit slower than I want, so I'm going to turn you up. Now, what I'm going to do is actually double this and do the stereo. Well, actually, before I do that, let's hear this with these. And let's put it on group 1. That sounds pretty good. So let's stereo this. And I'm going to take its output here, put it in here, and I'm going to put it about this wide. Maybe not that wide, a little bit more narrow. So the left and right sides don't sound the same, but it gives you a bit of a stereo image. Well, it wouldn't give you a stereo image if they sounded the same. But as you see, they're in different positions here. Filtering's different. And I did test it out, starting it from scratch, so that the modules initialize at the same time. And apparently they do have different seeds for different instances of Rnadom, because these don't line up in the when you start it from scratch all over again. There we go. And actually, what I'd like to do, put a blank panel in between these, so it's easier to visually differentiate. Between the sections. Now let me make sure, are they both on the same group here? No, the right channel is not in the group yet. It was sounding a little dry. Okay. These are actually, now that I'm listening to it a bit more, in a previous instance of the sound, I used a different effect on the droplets. They are sounding a little expansive, but maybe, since they're coming in as a group, Let me try them dry. That does sound a little bit more natural. Subtle difference. But yes, these droplets would be something that would be closer in perspective to you. You don't hear droplets across the way. Okay, put a blank panel in here because we're going to do the next aspect of the sound. And we're going to start with these because it's very similar. Now, I'm going to mute what I have so far so I can hear these on their own. Let's lower the level a little bit. This channel is centered. Good. Now, I want like a higher frequency tapping. It sounds almost like a shimmering sound of some of the droplets hitting a harder surface. But we can start with this. I am not remembering the settings that I use, but basically I can play around a little bit. The first thing is I'm going to use about the same range maybe, or I might adjust that, but the pitch area, I want this to be higher. And there we go. See, do I want this to be wider? No, actually that's sounding pretty wide as is. Maybe a little bit higher yet. Let's hear it. Let's hear the blend. So this is centered. We're going to stereoize it as well, but once again, headphones allows you to hear the subtleties. Okay, and when we stereoize it, it should sound even better. Now I can turn these both down a little bit. You can mix to taste. Let's try it on the effect to see. I mean, I did in the first patch have them have varying amounts. I kind of like set them individually. Oh look, I even have an individual send here already. So yeah, this is already hearing reverb. About the same as if it was in the group. Yeah, these can sound like they're in a bigger space. I'm going to put them on group 1. These you can put on group 2 and send them to a different effect if you want to try one. Now, one thing I'm hearing with these taps here, the middle range ones, maybe they have a little too much. You can lower the density here. They sound a little less intense. In that there's fewer of them now, basically. And these might be a little too much. It depends on the kind of grain you're getting. I could turn these up now. Depending on where you're standing and perceiving the rain from, it will sound different as far as your drops are concerned. But all these can vary to taste. Now, I've done all the filtering up here. I don't really need the parametric EQ. I don't think. But let's say, for example, the kind of filtering I'm doing up here on the steady rain is high pass. I'll remember to put this back. But let's see if we want to do something with this in filtering. There's already a bit of a roll off here. You want it to shimmer more. You can narrow it by changing the filter. I would use a different noise generator and separate filtering if I wanted to do wind. But for me, that's glistening a little bit too much, and I don't feel I need it. But those are some options for crafting the sound. Maybe we could try doing like a band, like a notch of some kind. That sounds a little too wide. But you could kind of give a little slightly different timbres. Try another notch. I don't care for either of these, but Maybe somebody does like the sound of them. Another thing I can do is just right click on this. Since I don't have any other channels that are being filtered, I could just go to initialize. There we go. But just showing you some of the possibilities with this setup. So anyway, this is the rain that is in Sound Experiment 14, which also features some other approaches and slightly different frequencies of binaural beating. So I will be doing an episode in this sound design series on some of the other elements in that. I'm also putting in some emphasis on 786 hertz, and I'll explain that in another episode why. As well as 432, which you guys know I love in the past. Basically, all the tuning of the harmonics in that for the binaural beating are based on A432, but I also make that pitch prominent. And 786 hertz as well. So that'll be talked about in the next episode. Until then, thank you for joining me. If you found this useful or helpful in any way, please hit that like button. Please leave a comment. It helps with the algorithm to help these videos get disseminated. You're more than welcome to ask questions. Or any constructive comments are welcome. And otherwise, until next time, take care and stay free.